What's up everyone, Wildheart here, and today we will do patch 13.1b rundown. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss new videos about League of Legends. And we start with champions. GP, AD growth decreased, E bonus damage and critical strikes decreased. Okay, so basically minus 0.3 AD, bonus damage and critical strikes to barrels, minus 5%. That's not too much, that doesn't kill GP, but I'm kind of happy about this nerf because GP was popping a lot. Like when he was winning the lane or when he was neutral on his laning phase, he was coming out extremely overtuned. Like his crits were too strong and he could one-shot squishy junglers like Rek'Sai, like Ivern, like supports like Karma, Lulu. I feel like that's a good nerf, especially this crit ratio. This sounds fine to me. Heimerdinger, Q turret health decreased, W magic damage decreased. That's interesting. Turret health is changed from 175 up to 700 based on level, to 130 to 640. So basically that's an entire nerf, not just based on early game. That's very interesting. Also the AP ratio is decreased, as you guys can see. This sounds kind of tough for Heimerdinger, not gonna lie. I mean, his turrets weren't too tanky even before the nerf. Nowadays it can be just one-shotted with champions like Karthus. Initial magic damage 50, 75, 100, 125, 150 to 40, 65, 90, 115, 140. So basically minus 10 damage a level. However, the scale is increased. So basically what we are getting here, we are getting nerf of Heimerdinger's laning phase, which is obviously too strong. I mean, I love Heimerdinger, however, I can see the reason why they nerf it. It's a good nerf. It's a nerf that I appreciate for sure. Kassadin, E cooldown increased. That's a very good one. Like, this is actually life quality balance. This is a really good one. Alright, so we get up to 4 seconds. 4 seconds is very good. I mean, 4 seconds when we get to spell maxed is very good one. We don't get any cooldown nerfs like level 1, level 3, it's only 1 second, so we won't really feel any difference. But the later we go, the more we'll have cooldown on E, so we cannot one-shot the wave and just roam. Like, no one maxes Q nowadays as Kassadin. Everyone maxes 4 spells, so nerfing 4 spells and nerfing its cooldown is a very healthy thing to avoid destroying Kassadin and maintaining him kind of decent. I don't think this change will destroy Kassadin, however, it's a really great nerf in order to keep him in a decent competition with other mid laners, so he's not overtuned as he was during the last patch. Kindred. Q base damage decreased, so we are getting damage decreased by 10. AD scales are not changed. This is life quality balance as well. I don't think this is going to change Kindred a lot. This is more of nerfing here early game, obviously. So when you play Kindred, you cannot just start fighting whoever you want. I mean, you couldn't do that even this patch, like even patch 13.1. So I don't think this is going to kill Kindred. This can reduce your win rate by maybe 0.1%, but that's it. Lilia. Passive AP scaling increased, Q AP scaling increased, E AP scaling increased, cooldown now decreases with rank. What? I mean, that's a lot, especially considering the fact that Lilia has percentage damage, and on top of that, we are currently playing a tank meta, a bruiser meta as well. Like, tanks and bruisers are extremely overtuned on top lane, so Lilia might have a shot in this meta. Magic damage 5%, 1.2 for 100 AP of target's maximum health, so we are getting it to 1.5 for 100 AP. That's not bad. I mean, that's not a lot, but once we get to the point of like 300 AP, that's another extra percent, so by the time we get to the full build, that will be around like plus extra 2% of percentage damage, which is fairly decent, especially when it comes to fighting Elder Drake or Baron. Q, blooming blows. Magic damage is buffed by AP scale. Okay, basic damage is the same, so basically we get like plus 5% on both of the scales. However, the basic damage is the same, so we don't really get early game buffs like at all. Let's see what happens with E. Magic damage seems to be the same. AP ratio is increased by 15%, which is nuts, I must say. Cooldown is reduced to 14 seconds at all ranks. That's actually sounds healthy to me. Like, this way we don't get an overpowered Lilia for early game. However, when she gets to her items, when she's suppressing like first 2 items, she's going to be very strong, especially if she gets the matchup she's comfy to play against. Like, let's say Xin Zhao, Volibear, Trundle, Hecarim, like pretty much any matchup that she can kite. Lucian, base mana regeneration decreased, growth increased, so we lose 29 mana level 1. We have mana growth increased though. Base mana regeneration is nerfed, mana regeneration growth growth is increased. I believe that's pretty much a nerf to destroy Lucian Nami combination and the way how broken they are in early game. This sounds... I mean, yeah, I didn't even read the description, but Lucian Nami are overtaking the pro scene. This is not only the pro scene nerf. Honestly, Lucian Nami were extremely simple combo that could be played on any rank. Like, all you needed to do is to select first strike on Lucian instead of running like regular press the attack as people were running earlier, and get Airy for Nami instead of getting Electrocute as it was earlier. And this way the combination was executed super easily. So I think this one is pretty much to destroy their synergy. So Lucian cannot poke with W and proc first strike whenever he wants to. Alright, Maokai. This is something that I was expecting in this patch. Q bonus damage to monsters decreased, E magic damage decreased. This is very good. Let's see what happens. Bonus damage to monsters 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. So basically 20 damage every single level. I mean, this is decent. I love it. It doesn't kill the champion, yet it definitely nerfs him, especially for early game. That's something that I love. Let's see what they do with Supplentos. Magic damage. So they nerf the bonus health scaling, and they nerf AP ratio by 5%. Okay, empower supplement magic damage. That's what we care about the most. So the damage is the same, but the scales are nerfed. Here we lose like 2% bonus health scaling and 10% AP. I mean, that hurts. That's a serious nerf to demon base build, obviously. However, that doesn't kill Maokai, which is cool. However, I still think people will try to keep abusing Maokai as long as they don't feel like he's dropping out of meta because of demonic embrace build. Nami. W adjusted, E base damage decreased. Once again, this is because of Lucian Nami combination. However, I still feel like nerfing her E is not a right thing, because Nami could still be a good support for champions like Cassiopeia bot lane, like Karthus bot lane, like Draven. Like, all of those champions were feeling themselves just fine with Nami. Right, let's see the actual nerfs. W magic damage is nerfed by 10, however scale is increased by 5%. So we nerf early game, but we increase her scaling. I mean, that makes sense. That makes sense with her W. Let's see what happens with E. Bonus magic damage per hit 25, 40, 55, 70, 85. It's nerfed by 5 damage every single level, and the AP ratio is the same. I mean, it doesn't sound too crucial, because nerfing Nami is very difficult now. She's at the point where if you nerf 5 extra damage on her E, she can become too weak and unplayable. So I believe Riot approached this one very carefully. They don't want to over nerf her. So that makes some sense to me. Like, with this nerf, yeah, we are losing like 15 damage on one E. However, considering magic resistance that players usually have, that's like losing of 11 damage, which is not a lot. Obviously, sometimes it will be crucial, but most of the times you can play around it well. Orianna. Passive damage adjusted, Q damage increased to consecutive targets, W mana cost decreased, R damage increased. So basically buff of everything. Okay. Passive. Clockwork wind up. Levels 1, 4, 7, 10, 13, and 16. So basically, earlier we were receiving these damage steroids at level 1, 4, 7, 10, 13, and 16, and now it increases every single level. That's cool. That's actually very cool. That helps a lot. Like, that might be a very impactful one for Orianna trades, because as Orianna, you don't really rely on your spells that much early game. The reason why you usually come out a winner out of trade because of your auto attacks, because you auto attack and kite your enemy a lot. So this buff is very good on passive. Alright, let's see what happened with Q. Passive damage reduction. The ball deals 100% damage to the first target, and damage afterwards is reduced by 10% per enemy hit. The ball deals 100 damage to the first target hit, and damage afterwards is reduced to 70% to all enemies hit after the first. This sounds wise to me. Like, if you want to fast push the wave with QW combo, this sounds wise, because overall you're gonna hit at least 6 targets if you use it well, and before that you've been losing 10% on each enemy hit, right? So if you hit 6 minions, you lose like 60% of your damage when you hit last minion. And now you just deal 70% to all of them beside the first minion. Makes sense. W, common dissonance. Mana cost is buffed. However, this one is whatever, I believe, because we don't get early mana cost. Like, the main issue for Orianna is surviving early laning phase without losing too much mana. This mana cost is buffed for like level 9. When you are level 9, you usually have lost chapter, and mana issues are already resolved. Common shockwave, let's see. 200, 275, 350, plus 80% AP scale. Now it's changed to 250, 350, 450, plus 90% AP. That's solid. That's very solid. Plus 50 damage is not too much. However, plus 10% AP with that flat buff, that's a lot. Orianna might be super strong this patch with this Roa and Archangel stuff combination. Like, it might be super good, I feel like. Ryze. The guy lived for one patch and now he's getting nerfed once again. Base stats. Magic resistance is nerfed by 4 points. Passive. Arcane Mastery. Increased maximum mana. 10% per 100 AP to 6% per 100 AP. I mean, I don't really think that's the issue. Like, I don't really think it's right decision to nerf Ryze because Ryze wasn't that strong as a champion. The main reason why Ryze was strong is because of items, because of Roa buff and Archangel stuff. Like, you don't want to nerf Ryze himself. Like, he is not even overloaded. Nerfing Ryze is not the bad thing, and Ryze was only overtuned for like high rank skill bracket. Like, if it comes to low rank, no one really played Ryze, and when they tried to play Ryze, it didn't end well usually. So I don't really agree with this one. Udyr. Q AD scaling decreased. Attack speed increased, R base damage decreased. So minus 1% on scaling, however the flat damage remains the same. Attack speed is buffed though. That's interesting how that can impact Udyr. Like, obviously that's a direct nerf to this previous Udyr that was trying to one-shot everyone with salty builds, like with one-tap builds. However, I wonder how this one can work. Like Blade of the Ruined King Udyr or something. We'll see. That's not something that's going to kill Udyr, because I feel like after Udyr was reworked, he became quite overtuned with the options what he can do. Like, he could tank, he could deal exceptional damage with physical damage, he could deal exceptional damage with magical damage. So now we'll see. Wingborn Storm. Base damage per tick is nerfed by 1 level 2, by 2 level 3, by 4. Well, it's up to 5 to last level of spell. I see. I mean, that doesn't kill Udyr. However, that's per tick, that can matter. That definitely matters. But that doesn't kill Udyr, I believe. Another nerf on Yuumi. Wow. Like, wow, how many more nerfs Yuumi will experience, like, seriously. Attack range decreased, passive now temporarily increases attack range. Okay. Base stats, attack range is nerfed. That's a terrible thing to do, by the way. I don't like that at all, that's stupid. Base attack damage is nerfed. Base health is nerfed. Base health regeneration is nerfed. Okay. Passive Bop and Block. When Bop and Block is ready, Yuumi will gain 25 bonus range for that attack only. So, guys, you are nerfing her 75 attack range and buffing her 25 attack range on passive. She never auto-attacks when it's not passive, right? Like, usually the auto-attack is Yuumi when you have passive ready, so you get some mana regenerated. But why the hell you're giving her only 25 attack range for that purpose? Like, you need to give her 75 if you want to make at least some sense with this buff. Right, shield strength is nerfed as well based on okay. Adaptive force is nerfed as well. Like, what? E-zoom is movement speed remove. Wait, hold on. Movement speed removed? I don't get it. Like, this is just too like, how to play Yuumi after that one? I mean, AP ratio removed. Alright, I can get it. But how to play this champion then? This is terrible, guys. Like, holy smokes, I can't believe my eyes. Like, what's happening? Rest in peace, Yuumi. Zoe. E now reduces the opponent magic resist when asleep. That's actually super good. Putting the trouble in the bubble. Enemies inflicted with sleep from Zoe's sleepy trouble bubble now have their magic resist reduced by 20, 22.5, 25, 27.5, 30%. No, this debuff disappears when the target is waking up. This is sick. After Zoe, all the Zoe's nerf, this one is a really great buff. I wonder if Zoe going to be popular this patch, because this sounds very interesting, especially considering the fact that ADCs are becoming popular in 13.2, right? I feel like Zoe can become popular because she has a great potential to one-tap ADCs this way. I mean, even without that buff, she could one-tap them if she gets them asleep. But with this one, definitely she's one-shotting them. Especially if she's building like full magic pen build, let's say. That'll be nuts. Fighter item adjustments. We're making some adjustments this patch that should help reduce some of the current frustration with fighters, namely the high levels of sustain and ability haste that the class has access to. To tackle ability haste, we are separating it from most defensive items, which should mean that a fighter will need to pick between ability haste and durability for their second item purchase, delaying some of their power into their third item. As far as Omnivamp goes, we want to curb stacking sources of sustain to slow down heavy snowballing itemizations. That's interesting. We're aware that some of the currently underperforming fighters may fall behind without sustain or with longer cooldown as a result of these changes. We'll be monitoring each champion affected individually and will adjust were needed due to how many core items we are changing. Wow, that, I mean, I'm excited. I'm super excited. This sounds like basically a death sentence to Aatrox. Alright, Omnivamp is just removed. Ability haste added. Shield cooldown 8 seconds for melee champions, 16 seconds for ranged champions, to 6 seconds for melee champions, 12 seconds for ranged champions. Alright, item recipe update. Serrated Dirk, Longsword, Vampiric Scepter, to Serrated Dirk, Clawfell's Warhammer. So basically like Yomus. This sounds super good for champions like Jace, but for champions like Aatrox, this is a disaster. This is obviously a disaster for some champions. But I'm really excited about this item. Like, I can see it being super useful for champions. Like, basically for champions who need this extra damage, who need this one-shot potential, and who benefit a lot from ability haste, but they don't really care about healing. Core Drinker. Mythic passive 7 ability haste is converted to 50 health and 3 ability haste. That's very interesting. I mean, that definitely limits Gore Drinker usage for some certain champions, like Irelia, for example. But I feel like as Aatrox you probably are not looking to use Gore Drinker as well. The question is what you're going to use then. If Eclipse is nerfed and Gore Drinker is changed that way, what are you going to use then? Ravenous Hydra. Okay, let's see. Picky Eater 10 Omnivamp is changed to 10 lifesteal. This is kinda bad change for champions who were really caring about Omnivamp, so basically lifestealing from spells. So once again, this is a huge nerf to Aatrox. Like, this is a huge nerf to Aatrox. However, for champions who mainly rely on auto attacks like Rengar, they don't really lose much from it. Ability haste is buffed though. Cleave damage will now trigger lifesteal as well. This is great. I mean, this is a great change for Fiora. I feel like this can set item in a way that it can be used for champions like Fiora, like Riven for example, right? However, Riot will just drop their attention from Ravenous Hydra and leave it like it is now. Morphmal Mortis. Omnivamp changed to lifesteal the same way. Attack damage is buffed. Ability haste is nerfed. It doesn't sound too bad for ADCs who've been using Morphmal Mortis against heavy AP team comps, like let's say enemy team has Karthus mid and Syndra mid and Karthus jungle, for example. In this case, you must go Morphmal Mortis, but you don't really need ability haste. Let's say you're playing something like Seer or Jinx, right? So this extra 10 AD and Omnivamp converted to lifesteal is good for you, and that ends. Plus 10 AD, plus 5 armor, ability haste is killed. Rip Hecarim. I don't know how people gonna play Hecarim without this item. Like, playing Hecarim without Death Dance is going to be a really tough deal, especially without ability haste. Like, you need ability haste for Hecarim, and you need Death Dance. And playing Death Dance without ability haste is just a disaster. Defy healing on takedown. 120 bonus AD to 50% bonus AD. No comments on this one, guys, okay? This is terrible for Death Dance. I mean, this probably kills Death Dance. I'm pretty sure that the peak rate of this item is going to drop drastically in next patch. Black Cleaver. Plus 5 AD, plus 50 HP. That's great. That's great. I feel like even before this patch, Black Cleaver didn't get as much attention as it had to, because the item is just great and people are underrating this one. Ability power nerfed. Grievous Wounds is buffed. That's great. That's great. I like it. I like it because no one gives a shit about like these 580, but everyone cares about the Grievous Wounds. This is great. Chemtech Pacifier. Build pass is changed from Bandleglass Mirror to Forbidden Idol. Okay. AP is nerfed by 20 points. Not too good, but okay. Ability haste is nerfed by 5 points. Okay. But we have Hidden Shield and Strange now. That's great. It might work really well with certain champions who benefit from shield and healing, like Lulu and Janna mostly, right? However, it can also benefit champions who rely on Radiant Virtue as well. The question is, who can benefit from building Radiant Virtue, getting like healing and shielding power at the same time? That's the question. But I can see it working in some scenarios. Like, this is a great combination for Karma, for example, I must say. Grievous Wounds application reworked now causes 40% Grievous Wounds on any damage application. No, the ability to apply Grievous Wounds by buffing allies has been removed. Okay, so basically that's Morello. That's Morello for supports now. that blows, guys. Like, given the fact that Yuumi is nerfed like that hard, this blows. I mean, this is too much, probably. that's a great thing for champions like Nami, who still can somehow deal damage with her ulti. But how you going to reduce any healing with Janna now? I don't even know. Like seriously, I have no idea. Morale Namikon, building path, blasting wand, obsidian or ruby crystal, change to hextech alternator, amplifying tom. That's not bad. I mean, this way you still get decent amount of damage when you're building Morella, especially when you're rushing Morella. Hextech Alternator is a good alternative how to get damage. It also gives you Magic Pen now. Wow, that's nuts. That's very good. I mean, that's so good. Response increase to 40% if the target has below 50 health. That's great too. I mean, basically, your enemies will look to heal those who are low HP. So this makes great sense to me. I mean, that's how it was now. But what it is now? No, there is no longer any extra reward for hitting low health targets. Alright. But I mean, magic penetration aspect is very important one. I love it. Might be a good choice for champions like Zerat, for champions like Zoe, who might be on fire next patch. I can see it being picked much more than it was much more than it was before. However, the question remains, who is going to be as serious threat as it was earlier in terms of like healing, beside of Silas. Like I can only see Silas over healing too much now. Right, Executioner's Calling loses 5 damage, gets plus 15% Grievous Wounds. Cool. Gangplank Chainsword, Grievous Wounds, same changes as Morella has. Basically the same as Morella. Alright, let's move to Mortal Reminder. Build pass change to Executioner Calling Last Whisper and Cloak of Agility. It doesn't sound too bad to me, especially considering the fact that it gives armor penetration now. It brings much more use now. Like you get healing reduction, you get magic penetration in one item. That's great. Like yeah, you lose movement speed, so it's not as strong as it was for like ADC combat stats, because as ADC you want to have movement speed in order to kite your enemies, and you want to have attack speed. But armor penetration and healing reduction in one item, I feel like that's cool. That's the same as Morello has now, like magic penetration and healing reduction, but like scaling armor penetration and healing reduction, that's nuts. Lord Dom's extra 580. I have no idea why. Probably just because we want to buff ADCs. Bramble West. Magic damage reflected to attackers 4 to 6. Grievous Wounds 25 to 40. Ramos is extremely happy about this change. That's super good for Ramos. Magic damage reflected to attackers 10 plus 20% bonus armor, 10 plus 25% bonus Ramos is dancing about this one. Like what? Ramos, are you there? Are you ready to play some games? Like this is sick, guys, I must say. 25% on taking damage, 40% on immobilizing enemies. So 40% on taking damage. No, there is no longer any Grievous Wounds application when applying crowd control. I mean, I don't like this part. Because this way you can play around it. Like if you just ignore the target, you won't have any Grievous Wounds. Like obviously, once again, when you're playing Ramos, you can taunt the guy, so he will attack you anyways. With other champions, they can just ignore you, and they won't get any healing reduction. Let's say you were playing Ornn. How would you force enemies to attack you? I don't know. This is just weird. ADC class adjustments. While AD carries aren't strictly weak, League has gotten faster and most of their best items have been pushed later into their builds over the years. We're adjusting Infinity Edge and Navori Quickblades to make them available as second items so that ADCs can access their most important power spike earlier in the game. For those who find their complex proper peel, we also buffed Opt in durability with a cheaper Shieldier Bloodthirster. Finally, we're alleviating late game mono constraints on several AD carries who frequently run Presence of Mind. These buffs should give those specific champions more room to run healthier options like Triumph or Overheal. This change will certainly add power to ADCs overall, but we're hoping this has an oversized effect on making the role funner to play. Guys, just from my POV, ADC was alright. ADC was a very strong role. Like, obviously ADC was relying on his support, on his jungler, but ADC is a very strong role, especially if you know how to perform with it. Buffing it even more, I feel like it can bring some unhealthy environment in terms of like how competitive are the other roles comparable to ADC. Right, Infinity Edge. Passive perfection required critical strike chance shifted from from 60 to 40. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a huge buff for champions like Jinx, like Caitlyn, like basically any ADC who rely on AE. That's a lot. Navari is the same. Navari is changed to 60 to 40. That can be huge buff to Xayah. GP as well. That can matter a lot. Like Navari sounds really strong. Even to Tryndamere. I can see Navari and Infinity Edge being like extremely strong items next patch. I wonder who will use them. As well, Infinity might be popular for champions like Yasuo and Yone. Lifesteal is nerfed, shield is increased, and then, wow, I mean, levels 8 to 19, or I mean 9 to 18, my bad, 9 to 18. This sounds super solid to me, and the cost is reduced, not bad. Alright, so all the ADCs are getting extra mana growth and mana regeneration growth. Jhin, Deadly Flourish mana cost is reduced, so W mana cost is reduced. E cop to audience, so that's basically his trap. Is reduced to 30 at all ranks. I don't think that's a huge buff to Jhin. Like honestly, yeah, we have an obvious buff to Jhin. However, the main issue why Jhin is not considered as a strong ADC now is not because of the fact that he has mana issues, right? That's because of the tank meta and how he feels himself playing the game. Base mana increased, mana growth increased, W's up mana cost reduced. Same with Jinx, but Jinx will benefit from the items. Jinx will definitely benefit from the items, from this extra shielding on BT, from IE. Jinx might be just fine next patch. Kai'Sa getting the buffs. I don't think Kai'Sa will benefit that much from IE. However, Kai'Sa might be alright. She won't be super strong, I'm pretty sure, but she might be alright. Mana growth is buffed, mana regeneration is buffed, mana regeneration growth is buffed. This can be a serious thing, because Misfortune spams her spells a lot, so buffing her mana growth and mana regeneration rate is a very strong thing, especially considering the fact that we can play Misfortune in different builds. Like you can play AP Misfortune sometimes, you can play AD Misfortune, so basically you can feel what your team needs. That's good. For Misfortune, that's great. Senna, mana regeneration growth increased, whatever. Sivir mana growth increased. Ricochet mana is decreased. Nothing important, but life quality buff as it is. For Twitch, it's whatever at all. For Xayah, it's whatever as well. Other items. Alright, this one is important. This one is pretty important, I'm pretty sure. Blade of the Ruined King was adjusted as part of the fighter item changes, and the ADC changes this patch, so the rationale for both of those changes extended to Borg as well. Cooldown. So cooldown is getting nerfed by 10 seconds, but ranged on hit damage is buffed. Siphon bonus magic damage is nerfed as it scales. I mean, it makes quite some sense to me, because I feel like for some champions, Blade of the Ruined King was given just too much. For example, when Twitch was building Blade of the Ruined King, the game was just won for him. Like, if you're building Blade of the Ruined King the same time when enemy ADC gets Gale Force or Kraken, you might be usually stronger than enemy ADC, and that shouldn't work like that. You should be equal with enemy ADC, and Blade of the Ruined King was always giving you the edge on them. Demonic Embrace. Maximum health burn 1.8 for melee champions, 0.8 for range champions. Now it's nerfed by 0.2 for melee champions and increased for range champions. I mean, Brent might be happy about that. Brent might be super happy about that. Zarya can be happy about that, but I don't think about any other champions who can be happy about that. Maybe Heimerdinger. I almost never seen anyone building Demonic Embrace for range champions. Maybe that can bring up some popularity for this item, but I just feel like Demonic Embrace nature, like this extra AP scaling with HP, is just controversial with the nature of range champions, because range champions are usually squishy. Essence River. Essence River is currently letting down the champion that want to build it most, so we're upping its power a bit more in line with other optimization options. Attack damage is increased, but the price is increased as well. I wouldn't say Essence River is currently letting down anyone. Like, the champions who want to build Essence River, they are building it. Like Rengar, GP, they are still building this item. Champions who don't want to build this item, they don't build it, because they don't need it. Chemtech Drake has been settling back into the rift and is adjusting well, but is still a bit less powerful than the other Drakes. We are giving Chemtech some small buffs to make it feel a little more at home. So more tenacity, like 1% extra tenacity, and heal shield power, okay. Damage resistance is increased by 1% when you're below 50% HP. I mean, this is nothing serious to take into consideration, to be honest with you guys. Alright, I think we're done for now. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and it was helpful for you. If so, make sure to drop me a like and share in comments below the video what are you excited about in this patch the most. Bye.